So with this one, we're going to make a glass ball from scratch. It's a little bit different than what you would normally see for maybe a photography edit, but still think it's pretty cool. And this one's definitely, when you read it, it's not very long, but it is fairly advanced. So I'll try to walk you along with it. First thing we're going to do is we're going to create a new layer. And then we're going to click on our elliptical marquee tool, which is this one right here. If we don't see that, if we see this, then we click on it, hold it down, and we want the elliptical one. And from here, we're going to hold shift, and we're going to make a circle somewhere, we'll say about that size. And then what we're going to do next is we're going to change our foreground color. So by clicking on this foreground color, if you can see where my swatch is at, this should pop up. And then we see this highlighted, and I'm going to give you a code, which is going to be D6, D3, C0. Should be kind of like pretty much a light gray. Once you have that, go ahead and hit OK. And then we're going to click and hold down on this gradient tool, and we're going to grab our paint bucket tool. If you're reading the written directions, that's all he is telling you to do. I know it can get a little bit confusing when he's mentioned the gradient tool and stuff like that, but that's where it is if you can't see it. And then you're just going to click once right there. Then we're going to go ahead and hit Control D for the shortcut to deselect. And then right here, we're going to go to the FX in the bottom portion of your layers palette. If you can see where my cursor is at, we're going to click on that, and we're going to go to inner shadow. And then this should pop up, and we want to change the blend mode to linear dodge, parentheses add. We're going to change the color from black. We want to change that to white. So we're going to kind of just click right up there. We're going to go ahead and hit OK. Opacity, we're going to change that to 42. And then we want this use global light checked, so it's already checked, so we're good on that. So I want to change my angle to -54. And then I want to change my distance to 16, keep that one at 0, and size 29. And we're going to go ahead and hit OK. We should see a little bit of a highlight right here in the bottom right. And then from there, what we're going to do is we're going to add a new layer. And we are going to add a gradient. So we need to go back to our paint bucket tool, click and hold down, and click on the gradient tool. We need to change the background swatch. So we have this gray. We want to change, so click on the background one right here. You can see where my cursor is at. And we need to change this code to 6, 5, 6, 4, 5, and F. To be kind of like a darker gray. After you have that, we're going to go ahead and hit OK. And then what we're going to do is we are going to click in the middle, and we are going to drag about to the edge of this highlight. So we see, for one, we need the dark gray to be on the left side because it's going to be going dark to light. So we see that's wrong. We're going to go ahead and hit Control Z, and we see that it also fills up the whole canvas, which I'll tell you what to do with that. So let's go ahead and click on reverse. So let's check that one. And then we are going to click in the middle, go to the highlight. And now we see that it goes from dark to light, but we still have the problem that it is covering the whole canvas. And what he's telling you to do is to hit Control G. Doesn't really change anything. We see right over here in the in our layers palette that we just added a group. So I'm going to hit Control Z. Because if you see just beyond that for CS2 and above, which we are past CS1, we need to hit Control Alt G, and that is what clips. And now we see a little arrow right here. It's indented, and the gradient is only local to the shape below it. So that's what it means by clipping. It's a very handy shortcut, handy tool to use. So definitely Control Alt G is what you want to hit right there. So after that, what we need to do is we need to duplicate layer 1. So we're going to highlight layer 1. We can see that it's highlighted, and we're going to hit Control J. So now we see one says layer 1 copy, one says layer 1, and we want to move layer 1 to the top. Let's see if I can. So we're going to click on layer 1, and we're going to drag it up until, if you can see that little highlighted light line right above layer 2, that means we're putting it above at the top. So that is what you need to do. Now we see that it's kind of all white. This one's still clipped, so we're good with that. We need to set this fill right here to 0. But before we do that, no, you know what? Let's go ahead and do that now. So we're going to set the fill to 0. And now we see that our image comes back. And then we need to double click on the FX right here for layer 1, our top layer. This pops up. We need to go to the inner shadow. So we need to make sure that we highlight it. That way, right up here, you can see where my cursor is at, changes and it actually says inner shadow. So from here, what we need to do is we need to change our blending mode to overlay. We're going to change our color from white to black. And we need to change the opacity to 100. We need to uncheck, you have to do this first, uncheck use global light, and then change that angle to 105. And then from here, we need 10, 0, and then 51. Now don't hit OK. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to go to the inner glow. We're going to highlight that. And we need that to be, instead of screen, we're going to normal. The opacity, we are changing that to 13. We need to also change this color to black. So I'm doing that by just clicking right here, and this opens up, and then make sure I'm clicking in the area where the color is black. And then I hit OK. And now we see that it goes black to transparent. Softer is good. We need this one to be 25 and the next number to be 5, and our range all the way down here to 100. Now from here, we can go ahead and hit OK. Now we should see we have like a dark shaded area on the top, and we have the highlight on the bottom. Now what we need to do is we are going to add a new layer. So we're still highlighted on the top layer. We're going to go ahead and add a new layer. We're going to click on our brush tool, and we're going to change this size to 150, and our hardness to 0. And we can go ahead and hit enter. And what we're going to do is we are going to hit the letter D on our keypad and then hit X. And if you can see that, it went back to black and white, and then X reversed it so white is on top, because that's what we need. We need white to be on top. We're going to click once in the middle, and we should kind of see just like a little bit of almost like a highlight sheen. And then we're going to go to Filter, Blur, and then Gaussian blur. And we're going to change this radius to 25. And then we're going to go ahead and hit OK. And then from here, what we're going to do, because it may go beyond our edge, especially depending on the size of your sphere that you're making, we're going to control. We're going to click on the thumbnail of the layer right below. So it should make the selection of the circle. And then we're going to make sure that we're still highlighted on the very top layer. We're going to click on the layer mask, and then that way it gets rid of anything on the outside of our edges. And we will continue this after in the next one.